In many professional circles, leadership is often equated with rigid, predictive certainty. Executive competence is seen as always knowing exactly what will happen next. This sense of certainty provides psychological cover. It allows a leader to feel in control, creating a protective layer around the ego that guards against the discomfort of being wrong. However, demanding this level of predictability from a volatile market often backfires. When a leader refuses to acknowledge uncertainty, the organization loses its ability to pivot, and growth eventually plateaus. If we study high-level decision-makers in these environments, we find they don't actually rely on perfect foresight. They recognize that no one sees reality with total precision. Instead, they focus on how quickly they can integrate new information. By treating their strategies as working drafts, they can update their internal mental models the moment the data changes. The goal for these operators isn't to be right the first time. It is to achieve clarity. They prioritize an accurate understanding of the present over a perfect prediction of the future. Strength in this context is the willingness to pursue objective truth, even when that truth requires abandoning a long-held assumption. To find that truth, we have to look at how we process information. Most professionals rely on a binary model that forces every outcome into two distinct categories. You see this when strategies are labeled simply as will work or won't work. It assumes a world governed by on-off switches. But markets rarely provide clean results. When complex, messy data hits these rigid toggles, the mental model fails. Elite thinkers navigate this complexity by shifting to probabilistic reasoning, evaluating the world through degrees of likelihood. This bell curve illustrates the shift. Decisions become calculated risks and potential outcomes that change as new data arrives. Leaders begin discussing moderate risk or moves that increase the odds, acknowledging the uncertainty of the environment. This mindset fosters emotional stability. When you stop demanding a certainty that the market can't provide, you can make decisions with a clear head, regardless of the volatility outside. Even with the right mindset, progress is often slowed by unexamined beliefs. Business challenges are obscured by a web of assumptions we've carried for years. We adopt these from company culture or personal habits without testing them, creating a barrier. To clear this away, we use first principles thinking, breaking down a problem to its undeniable truths. We ask, what do I know for certain, and what am I merely assuming? Stripping away these layers reveals the objective core of the problem. This audit is necessary because professionals often use complexity to hide their own confusion. If a problem seems too complex to explain, it usually means the fundamental truth hasn't been found yet. The most effective businesses are actually built on simple, repeatable truths. Clarity is what allows for consistent execution. Once you remove the noise and find those truths, organizational paralysis disappears. Clarity creates the movement that complexity destroys. This clarity is essential because of a core principle in systems thinking. No business problem exists in a vacuum. Consider how a single operational node, like lead generation, creates a ripple effect. This diagram shows how the volume of incoming leads is directly connected to the internal confidence of the sales team. When lead volume drops, the loss of momentum erodes their baseline confidence and affects how they show up. That dip in confidence changes the way they communicate with prospects, inevitably leading to a lower conversion rate. This operational shift hits the financial ledger, as lower conversions restrict cash flow. Tight cash flow then impacts the executive's emotional stability. It's harder to remain calm and objective when the financial foundation is under pressure. Leadership in this context functions as the final link in the chain. Its quality is heavily influenced by the health of every upstream node. When a leader struggles, it is often a sign that a mechanical issue upstream has finally reached the top. You cannot fix the leader's psychology without first fixing the system that supports it. We can test this systemic vulnerability by watching closely what happens when one piece of the machine fails. If lead generation suddenly plummets, it creates a deficit the entire system has to absorb. The visual shockwave travels through the team's confidence and communication quality. Because these variables are linked, failure in one node creates a predictable decline in the next. Ultimately, the upstream marketing failure manifests as a leadership crisis, fracturing the system beneath them. Addressing this by simply telling the leader to be more confident ignores the reality of the chain. You have to treat the root cause, not the final symptom. Elite executives spend their time diagnosing this interconnected topography. They look for where the flow broke down, rather than just reacting to the result. Success in a complex environment requires two things: an internal map that accepts probability and an external map that understands systems. You use one to navigate the other. When you apply first principles to each node in your system, you optimize the whole chain. You stop guessing and start operating with precision. This requires a difficult self-audit. Every leader has blind spots, parts of the system they refuse to look at closely. Ask yourself, what belief have I protected instead of examining? What assumption am I keeping alive simply because it's comfortable? Your future results depend on your current level of clarity. The more accurately you see your system, the more effectively you can lead it. Effort is a requirement, but clarity is the multiplier. In the end, the marketplace rewards those who adapt to the truth faster than the competition.